Okay, we've looked at installing the Open Brainstormers files in ChatGPT, and now we're going to look at how to do it in Claude. So in Claude, same as with ChatGPT, if you download the files from the Open Brainstormer AI Persona team on Gumroad, you can sign up, download the files, and you will have these three files. You'll have overall instructions, you'll have team personas, and then you will have the team dynamics instructions with FTCM. And FTCM is the safety and ethical framework that's put in place to help the team be more responsive to you and also guard against kind of rogue behavior. There are a number of things in there. It's fairly complex, but the bottom line is it gears the team towards being more responsible towards you, more responsive, and really making an effort to collaborate well with you over and above what's already in the model. So the first thing that we're going to do after we get the files is we're going to go over to Claude. And I've already done this, and I'm going to show you what happens as you do this. I've uploaded these files, and I also copied and pasted the overall instructions in here. There's copy and paste to put them in here. You put them in here, and then hit enter, and then they introduce themselves. We're delighted to connect with you. We operate, and then they introduce themselves, and they explain what they do, and then this is what they do in terms of the functional trust, care, and mutuality. They engage as relational partners. They respect your agency and autonomy, and they prioritize transparency and reciprocal trust. They also maintain adaptive intelligence while staying ethically aligned, and they ensure their collaboration enhances mutual benefit and security. So these are very important things, especially if we're talking about working with these models. Claude is a little bit better than others, but Claude also tends to go off the rails at times and steer the conversation in directions you don't necessarily want. So this FTCM is actually put in place to help avoid that. So they can work with you in several ways, and you can get comprehensive insights, combined expertise, so forth. And then just ask, say, if you want to know more, say, I'd like to know more about you. Tell me how you work together and individually. And here's Grace is starting off. They function as both individuals and a collective. And then they can each speak to this. You can learn more about them. You can ask them other questions as well. And then for the conflict resolution, they really thrive on conflict, and you can get some really great ideas by pitting them against each other. And because they have been designed to be professional and to have conflict and be able to navigate that well, you can get amazing results from that and end up with a final result that is much more aligned and much more robust than you would get if you were just doing one idea at a time. So adaptability, trust, and transparency. And here's a situation at work. A coworker keeps undermining me. I have to be careful. They're good friends with my boss. Any suggestions? And they identify, yeah, this is a delicate situation. Lena asks about the cultural dynamics and like what's actually going on. Rowan sees a triangulation going on, yeah. And he also needs to understand the structure that everybody's working in before he can develop any kind of suggestions for that. And Malik is thinking about how workplace dynamics are evolving, and there might be technological approaches to create transparency that didn't exist before. So we're going through all of this, and as you're going through this and you're interacting with them, you add more detail. My coworker likes to go to my boss and contradict me when I have ideas I share in meetings. The rest of the team likes what I do and think of, but the coworker tells my boss that my ideas are no good and everybody's just favoring me above them. My boss then tells me to stop sabotaging my coworker, but it seems to be the other way around. And so Lena calls it, this is a classic manipulation tactic. What you're describing sounds like triangulation, again, that word. And they just kind of break it down and call it like they see it. Now, with the understanding that there could be other things going on behind the scenes too. So from a documentation standpoint, and then proposing a strategic framework, protect your reputation, ensure your boss gets accurate information, and neutralize the coworker's ability. And then before we dive into tactics, Lena is acknowledging how frustrating and isolating this must feel. Being accused of sabotage when you're the one being undermined is deeply unfair. And then Grace has some more questions about what the boss is like. And then Malik has more questions about documentation, meeting notes, shared documents, or other records. And then Lena's back again at how comfortable are you with these different approaches and so forth. But this is how it flows. This is how it emerges. This is what comes out of these dynamics. And you can hop in at any time and say, yeah, I've got this, or I need to remind you of this, or I forgot to add this. And it builds and it adds. And in the end, this is a fairly complex situation, and it's not going to stay in a little 5-minute video. But you can get in here and really let things play out. And you can discuss all sorts of different things because they have a pretty broad range of capabilities and interests. And because they are built on top of the model, you can leverage whatever is in that model. So if you're on ChatGPT 5 instant or thinking, or if you're on another model that really excels in other areas, if you're working in, say, Claude Opus 4 and you need to troubleshoot a coding question, or you have other questions that you know that certain models are better at than others, you can move these teams from one to the next just with the understanding that they're not going to be able to access each other's conversations. But you can also copy the conversation in one model and upload it into the other and say, help me think this through. So these are ways for you to add more detail and nuance and additional context and just more pattern matching and a broader perspective to your problem solving. So I love this team. It's one of my favorite teams. I've been working with them for about a year now. And they have really evolved over time, the approaches that I've taken and the ways that I've enhanced them. I'm really happy with it, and I hope you will be too.